Okay, everybody. Hopefully everybody can hear me all right and everybody's feeling well. Welcome to another Tuesday training. Today is one I'm really excited about. It's one that I personally find very interesting. And I think you already have a general idea of what we're going to do. I put in the introduction or in the Zoom invite. I explained. But today, what we're going to do is we have a presenter. And we're going to talk primarily about the imposter syndrome. Now, this is something we all deal with, no question about it. Some more than others, obviously. I know I myself have had to deal with it from time to time. As a matter of fact, it's actually interesting because the timing is really good on this one, because you might realize that I've said to some, I've recently taken on a project doing for nonprofit organization Generation, and doing some business development with them. And I tell you what, their team is just absolutely amazing there. And it's like I feel like sometimes I'm wondering, wow, God, do I even have a clue what I'm doing here? These people are way above me. So yeah, this will actually be very good, Steve. So I'm looking forward to it, and hopefully you can give me some good tips of how I can deal with things myself a little bit more effectively. But it's definitely it's one that I think we can all take something from, and even if it's not so much for yourself, which it should be truthfully, it's something you can definitely share with others. Again, when you're working with clients, because they're all going to face this from time to time when they take on new jobs, when they get involved in new relationships, dealing with stuff from their previous, history, or their childhood or relationships or whatever the case may be. So look, without further ado, I'm not going to take up too much time. We're going to get stuck right into it here, because I know there's a lot of information to cover. So as you may or may not know, Steve is going to be the presenter today. Steve Brooks, he's one of our joint venture partners, and we're very fortunate to have him. I've got great time for Steve personally. He's a very committed individual. But in addition to being one of our joint venture partners, he's also a master NLP practitioner. So Steve is going to go ahead. He's going to take over the controls, and I'm just going to minimize that there. I'm going to turn over the controls there to you, Steve. And you have a presentation, or how are you going to? Are you just going to talk us through it?
I have a series of slides that I'm going to refer to. So yeah.
Very good, very good. Okay, so you go ahead. You can take over the control. Oh, actually, you know what? I probably have to stop to share. Apologies.
I think so. Yeah. Let me just.
Yeah. And you might
share sound as well. There we go.
Share the sound. Very good.
Oh, can you see my screen?
We sure can. Perfect.
Okay, so I'll start the presentation.
Good man.
Okay, there we go. So, thanks for your kind introduction, Patrick. Good evening. Welcome to this session on dealing with imposter syndrome in your life and your business. I'm excited to share what I've learned and hope it can help all of you in some way. So a bit about myself, just to start off with. My name is Steve Brooks. I'm a master NLP practitioner and OneSource joint venture partner. I started using the OneSource system over 9 months ago now. And in my NLP business, called Expressing Your Authentic Self, I work with people and their unconscious mind in order to help them overcome what is holding them back in life and gently guide them through a process where they grow confidence and trust in their abilities to face their fears, take action and move forwards. So imposter syndrome is central to that. This is further supported by the excellent work I do as a OneSource personal development consultant, enhancing the focus, balance and purpose of clients' lives. On that area, I'd just like to also say the personal development system with OneSource has particularly guided me in my own direction and focus in life, helping me to change my life for the better and increasingly feeling better about myself, taking daily consistent action, completing activities important to me and helping me to grow into a more effective and balanced individual. As a result, I feel I've become more confident, develop more skills and become more effective growing my own business, helping clients as an NLP practitioner and a life coach, as well as working with clients as a trained and fully certified one-source personal development consultant. So I, like many of you probably, have a personal history with imposter syndrome. And in this talk, I'll go through an approach to deal with imposter syndrome, to stop it in its tracks and get better at being comfortably uncomfortable in new situations when this comes up. So have you ever thought to yourself, one of these days, people will realize I don't know as much as they think? Now, Kate Winslet, the Academy Award winning actress, is reported to have said, I'd wake up in the morning before going off to a shoot and think, I can't do this, I'm a fraud. Now, surprising as that is, maybe you live with that nagging feeling of being found out because you believe you're not smart enough, not talented enough, don't have the experience. I know I did. So, bit of background. What is imposter syndrome? Well, it's a phenomenon where individuals doubt their accomplishments and progress. Instead, you feel like a phony. You feel as though at any moment you're going to be found out as a fraud, like you don't belong where you are and you only got there through dumb luck. And these feelings are fueled by self-doubt, fears and feelings of worry, concern, being scared of not being enough. It can affect anyone, no matter their social status, work background, skill level, or degree of expertise. And the term was first used by psychologists Susanna Imes and Pauline Rose Clance in the 1970s. And when the concept of imposter syndrome was introduced, it was originally thought to apply mostly to highly achieving women. Of course, since then, it's been recognized as more widely experienced. And imposter syndrome is more common than you think. We often fear that we are the only ones experiencing self-doubt, but you'll be surprised at how many other people feel the same way. According to a clinical research paper published in the Journal of Behavioral Sciences, it's estimated that 70% of the US population has experienced what's known as imposter syndrome, and that's probably a good benchmark for the rest of the world and Western world. In addition to this, based on the results of the 2019 imposter syndrome research study, there are 5 core fears that drive most people's imposter syndrome, which you may recognize from the revolutionary book Think and Grow Rich by Napoleon Hill and his 6 basic fears. And once you know how to spot these fears, you are on your way to setting yourself free from their subconscious self-sabotage effects. Now, these fears are fear of success, 1, 2, fear of failure, 3, fear of criticism, 4, fear of rejection, and 5, fear of money. So some of the common signs of imposter syndrome resulting from these fears include self-doubt, an inability to realistically assess your competence and skills, attributing your success to external factors, berating your performance, not good enough, fear that you won't live up to expectations, sabotaging your own success and struggling to take on board when you've actually done a great job, or setting very challenging goals and feeling disappointed when you fall short. So one example is that while for some people imposter syndrome can fuel feelings of motivation to achieve, this usually comes at a cost in the form of constant anxiety. Now, you might over-prepare or work much harder than necessary to make sure that nobody finds out you're a fraud. And the thing is, this sets up a vicious cycle in which you think that the only reason you survived that presentation was that you stayed up all night rehearsing. Or you think the only reason you got through that party or family gathering was that you memorized details about all the guests so that you always have ideas for small talk. The same could be when getting through a call with a client and memorizing a script being the only reason you believe you get through it. Now, the problem with imposter syndrome is that the experience of doing well at something does nothing to really change your beliefs. Even though you might sail through an interview, have a great session with a client, get great feedback on a business product, the thought still nags in your head, what gives me the right to be here? The more you accomplish, the more you just feel like a fraud. And the only reason you did well was because of dumb luck, and you don't really belong. As per what Kate Winslet is reported to have said, one of these days, people will realize I don't know as much as they think. It's as though you can't internalize your experience of success and you don't really believe it. Now, this makes sense if you received early feedback, particularly in your childhood, that you were not good at social or performance situations. Your core beliefs about yourself are so strong that they don't change easily, even when there's evidence to the contrary. So let me shift gears a little for a moment and give you a bit about my own story and how imposter syndrome presented itself for me. So as some of you know, most of my working life has been in the corporate energy industry, over 15 years actually. And for a lot of that time, I struggled to be heard, felt underestimated, and like I just didn't belong or fit in. Furthermore, I felt like what I said would be wrong and I'd be found out as a fraud as soon as I opened my mouth. Anxiety and self-doubt ruled. I didn't talk very kindly to myself, and this showed in my outward expression. I often held back, never said anything, and felt I simply wasn't good enough, but I was wrong because this really was not the reality. And it took me a while to move past it and still work on managing imposter syndrome, but I'm in a much better place now, and I devote my life to continually learning myself and helping others enhance their own lives. So, how does imposter syndrome manifest itself in your business, you may wonder? I believe imposter syndrome does come up particularly for new coaches, healers, therapists, NLP practitioners, personal development consultants who are transitioning and getting their businesses off the ground to work full time in personal development and transforming people's lives. So particularly if you're like me, transitioning from a very different industry and career path into a completely new yet fascinating field, the doubts and feelings of being out of place are natural and quite strong in the beginning. And some of the situations imposter syndrome has presented itself for me in growing my own business they can happen quite commonly, particularly in certain situations when I'm not feeling at my best. And these include talking about my business with others, particularly family, people not in personal development, when presenting my business to my peers and colleagues, like in webinars and support sessions, taking Q&A in support sessions, truly terrifying. It certainly was in the past. When talking with prospective clients, when working and releasing products, lead magnets, updating my profile, website, social media pages, all of these situations evoke feelings of imposter syndrome that I've learned to manage a lot better, which I'll go into later on. And the feelings were, I'm not good enough. I don't have enough knowledge. I'll be found out one day. I'm a fraud. I don't belong here. So it's classic imposter syndrome symptoms, if you like. So the question now for everyone, what are your feelings and emotions around imposter syndrome? Are there any I've not captured so far? And I'd just like to make this a little interactive and just take a couple of minutes to allow people to answer and share any of their feelings around imposter syndrome and any particularly I haven't captured. If anyone wants to share, just give you a minute.
I think you've covered them really well, Steve. It's Linda here.
Hi,
and
Linda.
Fear is a big one that kind of comes into that, doesn't it? It's and we all know there is an acronym. I wish I could remember it. That somebody told me that there is an acronym for fear, but you can turn it around so it becomes a positive acronym. But anyway, yeah, obviously you know that. But yeah, I think fear is an underpinning kind of emotion throughout it all. And as we all know, fear is kind of what stops people moving forward sometimes. You know, the fear of what might happen is greater than, you know, what could happen and will happen sometimes in a good way. But that's really great, the stuff that you've mentioned there. Self-esteem, the values, the belief, they're all really deep embedded things, aren't they?
Yes, yeah, no, absolutely. So thanks for your comments. And if it's okay, I'll move on now and start to go into how you can kind of turn it around with practice. And does anyone else have anything they'd like to add?
Hi, Steve. I think the time I felt like that was I worked in a secondary school and I was among graduates. And I thought, okay, I'm only a working mum. So I did kind of feel like that as well, that I wasn't good enough for the job. But it showed that I was, because I got kind of like rewarded for mentoring. A mentoring program. But I did feel like that because I was around graduates and I wasn't no way near a graduate.
Yeah,
I had the experience.
Yeah, it's more common than you think, isn't it?
Yeah,
I think, but yeah, your evidence, you can work through it as well, and the reality is often very different. You're actually very good at the thing you think you're not. So okay, so I'll move on now. Thanks for those comments. I'll start to change tack a little bit. So when I faced imposter syndrome previously, I would have ran away and often either blamed someone, people, or played the victim, or justified not stepping out of my comfort zone. That's the brutal and honest truth. And what I learned is it does not matter how common imposter syndrome is in your life or how frequently you might feel it, but whether you let that fear stop you from taking action to reach your goals, I think, as Linda said. So I've learned to really work on stopping the fear, and that this requires internal inner work, breaking down those mental and emotional barriers and belief systems that can be holding you back. It's about working through the mental and emotional blocks to break down these limiting beliefs. And what helped me was a set of principles I learned and started to embrace during an excellent business program, 10-month business program I completed in 2020. No, 2019, apologies. So the 5 principles are, as you can see, 1, all learning and change is uncomfortable. Get used to being comfortably uncomfortable. 2, your belief systems create your reality. Increase your awareness of any belief systems holding you back and know the signs. This really helps. 3, your speed does not matter. Forward is forward, and be kind to yourself. 4, aim for growth, not perfection. Let go of perfectionism. Making mistakes is okay and a key part of the learning process. 5, success leaves clues. Surround yourself with mentors and like-minded people. Your tribe, as I call it, such as a OneSource network, who help you to grow. And 6, everything is relative to your own growth at your own pace. It's not about how well others are doing. Track your successes and celebrate them as you build momentum. So moving on, I'll now go into how I deal with imposter syndrome, and I'm going to continue by going a bit more into one of these principles, belief systems, which can really underpin and drive those feelings of imposter syndrome. So 2 points under belief systems. 1, a belief is not something that the mind possesses. It's something that possesses the mind. And 2, once you have a belief system, everything that comes in either gets ignored if it doesn't fit the belief system, or gets distorted enough so that it can fit into the belief system. That's how strong it is. And you need to continually revise how you view your life and possibilities to combat this. So I just share the story of a shark now to really emphasize this point. So during a research experiment, a marine biologist placed a shark into a large holding tank and then released several small bait fish into the tank. As you would expect, the shark quickly swam around the tank, attacked and ate the smaller fish. Now, the marine biologist then inserted a strong piece of clear fiberglass into the tank, creating 2 separate partitions. She then put the shark on one side of the fiberglass and a new set of bait fish on the other. Again, the shark quickly attacked. This time, however, the shark slammed into the fiberglass divider and bounced off. Undeterred, The shark kept repeating this behavior every few minutes, but to no avail. Meanwhile, the bait fish swam around unharmed in the second partition. Eventually, after about an hour into the experiment, the shark gave up. Now, this experiment was repeated several dozen times over the next few weeks. Each time, the shark got less aggressive and made fewer attempts to attack the bait fish, until eventually the shark got tired of hitting the fiberglass divider and simply stopped attacking altogether. The marine biologist then removed the fiberglass divider, but the shark didn't attack. The shark was trained to believe a barrier existed between it and the bait fish, so the bait fish swam wherever they wanted, free from harm. Now, the moral of this, and like many of us, after experiencing setbacks and failures, can emotionally give up and stop trying. Like the shark in the story, we can tell ourselves we cannot do something, or we will always fail because we were unsuccessful in the past. In other words, the shark ignored the reality of the barrier not being there. The shark ignored the reality of the barrier not being there to maintain its belief that it could not eat the smaller fish, yet no real barrier existed anymore. It was just the belief system that was holding the shark back, literally and metaphorically, and this does not have to be the case. So it's about challenging, a lot of it is about challenging ourselves to break out of our comfort zone in situations and trials. And most of the time, it's our fear, as Linda said, which stops us from trying new things. However, I was taught a clever acronym which emphasizes how our fears do not represent the reality. And the acronym is FEAR, false evidence appearing real. And it's a really good one because it emphasizes your fear is not the reality, as you can see from the diagram as well. It's your perception and perspective. Moving on, and my story in terms of belief systems started with years of reading, attending courses and exhibitions on personal development, and learning the mental, emotional, physical, and spiritual aspects of self-healing, which enabled me to work consistently on breaking down my mental and emotional barriers and limiting beliefs. As a result, I started to find my inner voice, speak up, and look inwards, while having an increasing determination and belief I could get out of a place where I didn't want to be. And this continued. I started reflecting on the reasons that led me to this point in my life and what was really holding me back. And this allowed me to then begin to learn how to manage my emotions and start to change the way I think and feel. And I continually learn from my past and realize that I really do have the power, like we all do, to reconnect to what brings us joy and purpose. And in my own story, I qualified as a master NLP practitioner, initially to help myself move along, and now I use this to help others. So breaking down and changing a belief or your belief systems takes some time. However, from my own experience, I can say it's absolutely achievable. I believe there's a missing link required to guide and support you in this as you break down any limiting beliefs to feel the fear and do it anyway and take action. Now, I believe the missing link can be compared to a tree. A tree requires strong foundations and roots to enable its later growth and to maximize its potential. And the same principle is true for people. If the tree does not develop strong unseen foundations or strong roots, it will more likely be blown over, struggle to sustain its life when it eventually grows or faces the elements. And this is very much like people taking action to face their own fears. It's scary, which is why you need your own root system and strong unseen foundations. And I love this quote, which really emphasizes how integral to a healthy growing tree roots are. When the roots are deep, there's no reason to fear wind. Let me just say that behind the image. Now, the same principle is true for people. So without strong foundations and development of various unseen elements, achieving your goals any action and tangible direction is a lot more challenging. And this will undoubtedly be shown in your actions, health, physical outputs, success in life across your 4 key areas, if you like. Now, the stronger roots, like with a tree, with the stronger roots, the stronger unseen foundations you have, the stronger supporting base you have to stand up and express who you are with confidence, standing tall, with much less chance of falling down or being knocked down or becoming unstable. Like a tree, you bounce back, you have that resilience, and this shows in how you grow your business successfully and move forward in living your purpose. Now, accessing this missing link starts with having self-awareness of the situations in which you are struggling to express yourself confidently and experience imposter syndrome. Identify the unseen foundations, such as your emotions, self-esteem, self-worth, trust in your abilities, and courage, and which needs to be worked on the most. Indeed, it's about what you can't see. It's seeing the unseen, and how you get to see the unseen is through self-awareness. Without the strong foundations and development of these various unseen elements, having the mental and emotional resilience to face imposter syndrome and fears in order to take action and achieve your goals in life is a lot more challenging. I've learned that being aware of and developing these unseen elements and foundations is absolutely essential to accessing the resources you need in order to break down your limiting beliefs, take action, and move forwards. It's an approach that builds your mental and emotional resilience to challenges, and facing the fear allows you to face the fear in order to powerfully move forward with your business and your own spiritual journey. Just a question, can you imagine anything else so important as self-esteem and confidence to your happiness, success in every area of your life? And just ask yourself this, as I did, if you do not value yourself, how will you be able to value others? Value your uniqueness, what you have to contribute, your gift to the world, because I believe this is what you were born to do. And as Mark Twain famously said, a man, woman, cannot be comfortable without his own approval. So I'll now share my own approach to dealing with imposter syndrome. So to start with, it's essential to continually adopt the 5 key principles mentioned into your daily practice. And the one source system is a great way to do this. By doing this, you're embracing your own spiritual journey, breaking down and changing your belief systems, developing your mental and emotional resilience as you move forward at your own pace. I'll now go through each of these before we will apply this approach to one of your own imposter syndrome experiences through some techniques, and this will be your takeaway, as it were, from this session. Just another note, the great news is there are so many tools and techniques available to help support you build your resilience and break down mental and emotional barriers at your own pace and manage the emotions that come up when facing these feelings of imposter syndrome. In effect, helping to build these muscles and these your unseen foundations until you are strong enough to move forward and face your fears. That's my belief in how this really works from my own experience. So I'll now go into each of these points before we use some techniques on your actual experiences of imposter syndrome. At the center of my approach is embracing your spiritual journey, and I'll now explain this more. By living in imposter syndrome, you will not live your purpose. I know it's scary to deal with your fears and the feelings generated and triggered by imposter syndrome. Yet by dealing with these emotions and developing your mental and emotional resilience, your unseen foundations, exercising these muscles, you can deal with imposter syndrome more easily and take action to move forwards, living your real purpose. I believe this approach gives you the mental grounding, strength, and foundations to deal with uncertainty and conquer your fears, step out of your comfort zone and into your power to do what you're born to do. That is to share your gift to the world, going outside yourself, contributing to something greater than yourself, connecting to the universe and embracing the universal laws as part of your own spiritual journey. Indeed, I believe this is all part of your journey from self-awareness to self-mastery. Another way of putting it. So a big part of this is to be in a position to feel the fear and take action anyway. Having behind you those strong foundations and the resilience to manage your emotions as you take the actual physical action to move forwards. Dealing with imposter syndrome and delivering is a key part of growing your business and the learning process. Taking action can be going to that challenging interview, learning to drive a car for the first time, or particularly when growing your own transformational coaching business and putting yourself out there, talking with a prospective client, creating a new product, speaking in public, taking questions and answers, delivering a webinar or support session. So a couple of tips I remind myself of and recommend when taking action include: keep taking baby manageable steps so you do not get overwhelmed. The important thing here is to remember speed does not matter. Forward is forward and all relative to your own journey. Focus on your progress, not other people's achievements. Fake it till you make it. Remember, you're learning a new skill. It's a learning experience, like when learning to drive a car. I was completely clueless at first, learning to drive. There are so many different bits to learn, yet then with practice and resilience, it all came together. I remember a famous quote from Winston Churchill: success is not final, failure is not fatal. It's the courage to continue that counts. And celebrate those small wins, however small. Taking consistent action, keep pushing harder, because small wins encourage you to go further in life, to push harder and achieve bigger goals, particularly when taking regular, consistent action. And when you think you'll never succeed, particularly when you're hitting that wall, keep going, push even harder. Here is where other people can give up, often give up, stay in their warm and safe comfort zone. This is where the mental resilience mindset can make the difference, internally saying to yourself, you're not going to do the same. As Wayne Dyer said, it's never crowded along the extra mile. So I'd just like to share a really quick technique, the 5-second rule, as many of you know, by Mel Robbins, that I find really useful in the moment of taking action, particularly around feelings of imposter syndrome. Feeling a fraud, not fitting in, I don't belong, because it helps to stop emotions in their tracks. And it just helps to be sure, if you feel the fear that's still holding you back in the moment of taking action, this can just help you get you over the line. So I'll just play this short video.
Hey, it's Ted McGrath. So how do you get clients in the next 30 days in your business?
I recently read the book, The 5-Second Rule, by author Mel Robbins. When your alarm went off this morning, did you immediately get up, or did you hit the snooze button? Several years ago, author Mel Robbins had a chronic habit of hitting the snooze button. See, Robbins had a drinking problem. She was out of shape, unemployed, and her husband's restaurant was failing. She felt like she had no reason to get up in the morning, so she didn't. She habitually hit the snooze button to avoid facing her problems. Then, one morning, she did something strange. When her alarm went off, she thought back to the previous night when she saw a NASA space shuttle lifting off and decided to silently count to herself, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. After 1, she launched herself out of bed. Later that morning, Robbins hesitated to put on her shoes and go for a run. So again, she silently counted to herself, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, and the next moment, she was putting on her running shoes. That afternoon, when she thought of updating her resume but felt like putting it off, she silently counted to herself, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, and the next moment, she had her laptop open and started updating her resume. After months of 5-second countdowns, she found a way to get hired by CNN as a TV commentator. Gradually, her and her husband found a way to get out of debt and save the restaurant business. And gradually, she found a way to write a book. Now, you might be thinking, okay, this is ridiculous. How can a 5-second countdown possibly change someone's life? I thought the same thing, and so did Mel Robbins. But however ridiculous it seems, it works. And it works for a good reason. In the book, The Power of Habit, author Charles Duhigg reveals how your habits determine your destiny. To change your destiny, you need to understand the 3 parts of every habit. Part 1, the cue, part 2, the routine, and part 3, the reward.
Okay, so I like the spaceship launch sequence aligned to 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, but it actually works. And I've been doing it more and more. So to help you get to a place where you can feel the fear and take action, it's important to do the inner work, to start mentally and emotionally breaking down any limiting beliefs. This will exercise your self-reflection muscles and help you to start identifying those specific limiting beliefs you're holding back. That's stopping you moving forward. Now, you could start this by channeling, writing down your thoughts and feelings around imposter syndrome and certain situations before really asking yourself some hard inner self-reflective questions. And this step is really important because you need to process your thoughts and feelings and understand the specific cycle that you're going through and the problems it's creating. And it gives you the chance to stop the cycle in its tracks. Then you narrow down your self-reflection answers, and through this, you will identify what's really holding you back. And without being aware of the specific issue holding us back, we repeat and often strengthen the same behaviors and feelings. So the issue remains and you continue the cycle of problems. Now, after experiencing setbacks and failures, we often believe that that thing is just too hard to continue and stop trying. However, there's often a specific issue holding us back, and this is what is the key, to identify the specific issue holding you back, which will allow you to move forwards. Now, specific narrowed down questions may include things like, what core beliefs do I hold about myself? Do I believe I'm worthy of love as I am? Must I be perfect for others to approve of me? Now, what usually holds you back is emotional. If it's not emotional, it won't hold you back. So it's important to realize you're not your emotions and move beyond this. Otherwise, your emotions brought up in imposter syndrome will continue to come back and limit your choices and decisions. Now, there are many techniques and tools to help you deal with your emotions around the specific issue identified that's holding you back in imposter syndrome. Now, I find it really useful to use grounding techniques and tools to calm these emotions down, because this really helps me to get through the fear when taking that action. For example, daily meditations really help me ground myself, as does a particular NLP grounding technique called 1 Point, which I'll guide you through shortly and show you how to apply to your own imposter syndrome experience. Grounding to me is very much like going into nature for a certain amount of time. It's a similar feeling for me. Now, I also recommend using some additional tools to not only loosen the emotions brought up around imposter syndrome, but also to start to change your perspective and the way you think. So as you're aware from the shark metaphor, limiting belief systems often do not represent the reality or the facts. One example is when we make a mistake or fail at something new. Rather than believe this is the end of the world and not recoverable, we can realize our mistakes and failures are the stepping stones to growth and self-discovery. This is what builds the foundations to success and achievement. And once we know this, you begin to change your perspective and stop those same emotions coming back up and let go. So another point I'd like to share, comparing yourself to others can be inspiring, yet also harmful. One key tip I'll also shortly share for your own experience is how to stop unfavorable comparisons and compare yourself effectively. This will help you to change your perspective a little and stop using others as your measuring stick, because this can often lead to you feeling lower self-confidence and lower self-worth. So how this technique works is you firstly remember a time when you compared yourself unfavorably, really unfavorably, to someone else or to other people. Then you reframe your comparison experience by asking questions such as, is this true all of the time? What's the message behind the emotion? Is there anything you can learn from the situation? You then write down one thing you've done well and achieved in this area when compared to the past. Then you write down one strength you brought and shared when you had these feelings of imposter syndrome. And then you write down one way you can, or think of one way you can improve from this experience of imposter syndrome. Now, my own experience of an ineffective comparison experience was when I gave a particular presentation at work, and it really was not going very well. I started to compare myself more and more unfavorably with the other people in the room. Made it worse. I mumbled my way to the end, feeling really pretty inadequate. I believed everyone was ignoring, not listening to me, didn't like me, thought I'd done a terrible job. So by applying this technique, I realized, firstly, not everyone in the room disliked me or my presentation. They had probably their own issues as well. The structure of my presentations was thorough. I didn't panic, I didn't refer to my notes as much as I used to, and I engaged very well with people. This was feedback I also got. I made people laugh as well. I realized my mind is trying to alert me to things that might go wrong, my unconscious mind, and make sure I'm well prepared as well, another realization. And I also realized I can actually learn a lot from certain people, and they have the right intentions to help and improve my presentations further, like not going into too much detail. The important thing is to focus on your progress, not other people's achievements. When you focus on yourself, this is something you can control and change. And in the long run, you build this up, build momentum, build up those small wins, which consistently encourage you to go further in life, push harder, and achieve bigger goals. So continuing on the mental theme and expanded thinking. So once you start to manage your emotions, you begin to have a clearer mind, and it becomes easier to think and have other more helpful thoughts. When we change what we think, it interrupts the old thinking patterns, like the 5-second rules. Our brains like to learn very quickly, and you can now start to fill the gap with new, more creative and productive thoughts. When you think of a better, more helpful thoughts, you create new neurocortical pathways, and the more you do this, the more you reinforce and strengthen this thinking. This can be called thinking on purpose, and is the science behind neuroassociative conditioning and neuro-linguistic programming. And the truth is, the more you think with purpose, you find better ways to handle things, come up with better solutions, and become more focused and confident taking decisions, expressing who you are and what you want in life, going for it more. So I'll shortly share another exercise I refer to as the confident you, where you begin to start thinking and imagining your imposter syndrome situation going exactly the way you want. So now, the major interactive part of this session, let's now apply this approach to you. So thanks to Patrick for putting this request in the earlier invite email. I'd just like you to think of a situational person that triggers those feelings of imposter syndrome. And firstly, just take a minute to self-reflect and ask yourself a couple of questions about what's really holding you back. You may already know what belief is holding you back. Either way, you might want to ask yourself some of these questions and just take a minute to do so now. Like, what core beliefs do I hold about myself? Do I believe I'm worthy of love as I am? And must I be perfect for others to approve of me? Okay, so just keep hold of those thoughts. Before you apply them to the techniques I play, I'd just like to say, for the duration of these techniques, it's about 10 minutes, I'll just ask you to now stand up straight with your feet shoulder width apart and looking straight ahead. So stand up straight with your feet shoulder width apart and looking straight ahead for the duration of these techniques. Okay, good. Now I'll play the techniques one after another and just listen and apply them to whatever you believe is holding you back, the limiting belief or whatever, and then the way you want it to go. Okay, great. Let's now go into the technique. Just close your eyes and stand upright with your feet shoulder width apart. And I'd like you to think for a short time about a difficult situation where you can't get the thoughts out of your head. See, hear and feel yourself in this situation. You may notice that you have less balance and feel wobbly or a little uneasy on your feet. Give this situation a rating from 0 to 10, with 10 being the worst and 0 where the situation is not affecting you at all. And remember this rating. Now I'd like you to just slowly move your attention from your head to your throat, and be aware as you move the feeling to your chest and down to your stomach, and finally concentrate on a point about 2 to 3 inches below your navel, where your belt would be. Notice a heavy weight type feeling like a concrete block, sack of potatoes or anchor. Whatever works for you, as you simply concentrate and settle this feeling down into your tummy now. That's right. Notice your thoughts becoming much quieter as you look at yourself from a distance in the same challenging situation. You may notice you now feel rock solid and more secure on your feet, particularly when someone gently pushes your shoulder. Now think of something else, maybe what you had for breakfast or lunch today and what you enjoyed about it. I'd like you to just think of that difficult situation again and now give it a rating from 0 to 10, with 10 being the worst and 0 where the situation is not affecting you at all. I'm guessing your score is somewhat lower. If you want your score to go even lower and closer to 0, access 1 point again in the same way, going from your head all the way down to feeling the weight down into your tummy while you let any disruptive thoughts just pass away. And also remember a time when you really giggled and laughed at something. That's right. Just think of that moment. Now, think of that difficult situation again and give it a rating from 0 to 10. And I'm guessing it will be an even lower score this time round. Now access 1 point again in the same way and feel the weight down into your tummy area. Whatever that weight is, feeling rock solid and secure on your feet. And now, in your mind's eye, picture yourself from across the room looking at yourself handling the same situation. See this situation always going the way you want it to go, with the outcome you want to get, and in a couple of different ways if you wish. See yourself handling this situation easily, effortlessly and gracefully, staying in control and relaxed in 1 point all the time. Notice how you feel now and give it a new rating between 10 and 0. And hopefully this will now be a 1 or 0. Now I'm going to share a little technique which you can do to just help reset your comparison compass. So just remember a time when you have compared yourself really unfavourably with someone else or others. First, reframe your comparison experience by asking yourself questions such as, is this true all of the time? What is the message behind the emotion you're feeling? Is there anything your mind is trying to alert you to? Is there anything you can learn from the situation? Just spend a moment coming up with some answers to these questions. Next, write down one thing you have done well and achieved in this area when comparing the past to now. So just write down, just remember and think of one thing you've done well in this comparison experience you have. Then recall and write down one strength you have brought to and shared in this area. So just remember one strength, a good thing you brought to this situation, this comparison experience. Finally, think and write down one way you can get better in this area and learn from this experience. Just take a moment to finally write down a way you could improve from this comparison experience. So after you have used this technique, notice how you feel about your comparison. Indeed, check in with your body any changes to your energy levels. Stepping into the confident you. Now take a moment and step forward into the confident you. Just make sure you're standing up straight and at the same time hold your head and chin high in an upright and comfortable relaxed position on your shoulders. That's right. And let your spine support you. Imagining a golden thread running vertically up through your spine, up through your head and straight up all the way into the sky, and feel this thread supporting you, maybe smiling, as you let yourself relax safely and effortlessly held by this golden thread. And know this posture and upright stance is the natural position of confidence, and it will soon be as natural to you as breathing. Activate your confidence switch. Now just take a step forward and think of the imposter syndrome situation going exactly the way you want it to go, and you taking action so confidently. Fully return to it now. Fully be in that moment. See what you see, hear what you hear, and really feel how good you feel. That's right. Turn up your confidence switch. Now make the colours brighter and richer, the sounds louder and stronger, and the feelings more and more intense. And notice where that feeling of confidence is strongest in your body, and give this feeling of confidence a colour. Make that colour up to the top of your head and go all the way down to the tips of your toes, like an expanding blanket, becoming more and more intense as you double the brightness and double the brightness again. And as you feel better and better about these good feelings, create a subtle reminder to yourself. This could be squeezing the thumb and middle finger of either hand together, or squeezing tightly one of your big toes, a barely unnoticeable signal that only you know, and it's about whatever works for you. So fully go into this feeling in your body as you increase the volume on any sounds and your own voice, and notice this feeling of total confidence and inner calm expanding outwards to every cell in your body, spinning faster and faster, the sounds in front and all around louder and stronger, the range of colours brighter and richer, and keep squeezing your big toe, feeling amazing, handling the situation with ease and utter confidence, these confident, calm and wonderful feelings for a few moments. Okay, great. Well done. Just note, when you actually take the physical action in this situation, you can apply the 5-second rule, that 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, go, and do that activity as well. So well done. You can sit back down again, of course, now, and I'll just close the presentation before we have time just to ask a few questions and have some feedback. So some follow-up actions I put together. What I recommend you can do in your own time is to think of another situation or person that triggers feelings of imposter syndrome. In the same way as we've done, you can take some time to self-reflect, ask what's really holding you back, any major fears and limiting belief systems. Remember and apply the 5 principles consistently. Then use the 3 techniques shared to work on that limiting belief and helping you to face the fear and take action anyway in that imposter syndrome situation. And of course, when next in the situation chosen, Remember to apply the 5-second rule when taking action and facing the fear and doing it anyway. There's some final thoughts. Here's a powerful quote from Benjamin Spock that I cherish, because the more you build the strength and resilience to face your fears, take action and move towards where you want to be, the more you realize these words are so true and are the reality. Trust yourself. You know more than you think you do. So my call to action is to recommend you make a decision today that enough is enough. You're going to change a few things, or maybe even decide to stop doing your version of the imposter syndrome altogether. It's okay to do that if you want to. As a coach, healer, NLP practitioner, personal development consultant, also keep in mind that to be completely authentic, make a commitment to be yourself, be honest, and keep in mind that all you are doing is sharing what you know. I find this helps to really mitigate any feelings of not being or knowing enough, or feeling you have to be an expert. And when you do things with an open heart, people will connect with you. Indeed, dealing with imposter syndrome and delivering is a key part of growing your business and the learning process. So feel free to use any of the techniques shared during this webinar, this training. Embrace your spiritual journey, and I wish you all the best growing your own coaching businesses and in your life and career, so that we can collectively be a source of positive influence for humanity and in the business world. So thank you so much for listening and having the confidence to participate in this training session. I'd be delighted to help you with further coaching and or to answer any further questions you may have on dealing with imposter syndrome, and my contact details are here and shown. So finally, thank you once again for taking the time to participate, engage and work on yourself in this training. As the image states, keep going if you feel like an imposter, exercising your muscles to build the strength to deal with uncertainty and conquer your fears. This will allow you to step out of your comfort zone and into your power to grow your business and do what you're born to do, contributing to something greater than yourself. And now, I'll just go back to take any questions, particularly using the techniques on your own situation, evoking feelings of imposter syndrome. So my questions are, if we have time and everyone's okay to stay for a couple more minutes, how did this approach feel before and after? Any thoughts? And does anyone follow any other scheduled spiritual regime or approach to help with imposter syndrome when it comes up? So if everyone's okay, happy to share thoughts and answer one or two questions before we close.
I thought that was exceptionally well, Steve. I really, like I say, the timing for me personally is really good for this, because whilst I know we study these things and we know a lot of them from previous sessions, just the way you presented it was actually quite good. And I did the activities as you were instructing us through it. And again, like I had mentioned at the very beginning, I have recently gone through some different challenges, and I've just recently joined a team of other business developers over in the UK, and some of them are extremely impressive. And I did feel to a degree like, what do I think I'm doing here? This is way above what I'm typically used to, because we're talking about on a global scale. And I had to challenge some of my own limiting beliefs. And I tell you what, it definitely works. No question about it. Fortunately enough, I knew enough about it that I was able to talk myself through it. Yeah, no, I really do. I appreciate everything you did tonight. Hopefully everybody got some value. And if somebody's got something they want to share, I strongly encourage you to do it now that we have Steve, that he can kind of step you through it. Because again, this is something that we all go through. But in addition to that, the clients you're dealing with are going to go through it as well. So anybody have any questions for Steve or anything they want to share before we wrap it up?
I just basically, Catherine here, Steve, that I found the 1 point technique really powerful. That really worked for me. And the other thing I try to remember when I feel fear about doing something is that the fear is telling me that I'm stepping out of my comfort zone, and that's a good thing, because that means I'm going to learn and grow. So I just try to reframe it like that as well.
Yes, yeah, absolutely. That's how it works. As uncomfortable as it is, that's how it's meant to work in order to grow, isn't it? It's meant to be uncomfortable. And I think the trick is, I'm still working on it, is to get used to being comfortable and being uncomfortable, if that makes sense.
I thought that was a great expression, yes.
It's, yeah, so sounds like doing a great job, but yes, yeah, that's that. Sounds like we deal with it in a similar way, but it does take resilience, does take work and inner work as well as doing the action, but it works. You can overcome it, and once you realize it's part of the growing process, and you're aligned and focused with purpose to what you want to do, and you're being authentic, I think you're unstoppable. And yeah, that's a good way to end it, isn't it? So thanks for sharing.
Okay, anybody else with any questions for Steve or comments?
Just a fantastic job, Steve. I mean, I'll obviously will message you after, but I've actually written 10 pages of notes, and I think that sums up how useful your presentation was tonight. And I just feel so blessed and so lucky to have you as my personal development consultant buddy, and you're so knowledgeable and passionate about your field of NLP, and this imposter syndrome, I keep on saying, is something that's so universal, and I feel that everyone can relate to it in some form of way. And the techniques that you've shared tonight, they're life-changing, and I feel that everyone can use them. So congratulations and well done.
Thank you very much. Yeah, look forward to talking to you later. Pleasure working with you as well. And yeah, you're right. Yeah, imposter syndrome is more common than we think. And I think when that's realized and we can help people, and society can help people, we can become much better as a race, can't we? Because that's what we're born. I believe we're born to do something. We all have a gift, and overcoming imposter syndrome is a key part of that, and we can help each other to do it. But thank you very much for your comments. Really appreciate it.
No, well done, Steve. Look, guys, we're pressed for time. So, Steve, once again, thanks very much. That was really, really great. I know it's going to get a lot of views on the membership site. I know it's something that I'll come back to time and time again. So that's great. And I strongly encourage everybody, you have Steve's email addresses there, to reach out to Steve. If there is something, question, or something you want to talk to him about, I'm sure he'd be happy to support you. Easiest email probably to remember is steve@onesourceict.com. And I'm sure that he would give you some really good advice, whatever, or assistance, whatever you're looking for. So look, guys, we're a little bit over on time, but I think it was well worth it. It was time well spent. So we'll wrap it up there. Anybody who hasn't done the presentation yet and wants to, make sure that you feel free to reach out to me. And because again, I think this is a great platform for us to share our knowledge, because combined, we have a massive, massive knowledge pool of resources that we can all draw from that are going to benefit each other and help us in developing our own businesses as well and growing it within ourselves. So if you haven't done a presentation yet and you feel you have something, what I know you do, I know everybody here listening has something that would be beneficial to share with the group, I strongly encourage you to reach out to me, and we'll go ahead and we'll get you slotted in. But other than that, thanks again, Steve. Thanks everybody for coming. We will wrap it up at that, and I'll get this posted.
Sorry, Patrick. Thanks for the opportunity to do it. I faced my own imposter syndrome doing that. So yeah.
Yeah, no, like I say, the timing for me was really good for this. So good, well done. Thanks, everybody.
Okay.
Have a great one.
Thanks, everyone. Bye.